Just like in the Torvald version, it was called like that. I will have it be here. And it means a lot here because you now presented the opportunity for Finn and for Kylo to battle each other. Like there are two fates, only one of them is going to go on and the other will perish. And you can have this film not only be like a calling call for all the other planets that we saw throughout all the movies, Naboo, Tatooine, Camino, Genosha, all these other planets that we have visited, and have our heroes create resistance. Oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, Rise of Skywalker will mean something because now Finn, instead of becoming himself a Jedi, decides to use the name Skywalker as an organization, or in this case, to make it into the New Republic, the New Resistance, the name of the fighters and the warriors he's creating. And he's going to use the name, the spirit of that name, to make it into a group of fighters fighting against the First Order. Or in this case, if I had it my way, since in my version I have Kylo destroy the planets of the First Order, have that order called the Order of Ren. Why not? And you can have the Knights of Ren saying the prophecy has been fulfilled. Now we can rule everything and do whatever we want. Something like that. Killed and destroyed. And you can have the things from the Torvald version, executions, people being tortured by from the Order of Ren, Kylo getting more desperate. And this is what you present. While our heroes like Finn, Rey, and Poe are trying to gather an army in order to fight the Order of Ren, you can have Kylo on Coruscant, on Starkiller Planet, just passing by and walking and just pondering for what planet he's going to destroy next. Maybe I have a scene with Hux saying, we can't destroy all the planets, we need the resources, we need to do something. And says, if the planet is not useful, you destroy it. And you can also put a ticking clock, like because the Starkiller Planet is draining a lot of energy from one of the stars and it's taking a long time to destroy a planet, multiple planets in fact, that you can present this that they need to recharge. And this is where you, at the end of the film, present this gigantic climax in which Finn leads the charge of his Skywalker army to fight against the Order of Ren. With Dark Troopers, the Knights of Ren fighting. You can even present Hux as the unofficial, like an undercover spy, in which he allows the shield around the planet be taken down, allowing our heroes to fight in space, on the ground. You can have a scene between C-3PO and R2 reminisce about Coruscant and how good it used to look before it was all being destroyed. And this is where you can have Kylo confront Hux, and he says, I don't care if they win, I just need you to lose, Kylo. And then you can have Hux being drained of his life and killed. And this is making Kylo so angry that now the climax is all about Kylo and Finn fighting each other, seeing who can save or who can destroy. And you can have this be a gigantic, massive battle with John Williams' Duel of Fates theme, and you can have it be spectacular. I mean, what I'm describing is not as good as I'm picturing in my head, but trying to use your imagination. Finn and Kylo fighting each other, duking out to see who is going to stand and who's going to fall. You can have a scene in which Finn manages to take the upper hand. Kylo tries to use the life force powers to drain Finn, but he's not able to use it. And this is where we get to the climax. So our heroes destroy the ships, the Dark Troopers, and the Knights of Ren. Then you have Finn cutting the arms of, or cutting one of the arms of Kylo's, and then Kylo decides that if he cannot rule the galaxy, then he's gonna take down every single person on the planet with him. Like, everybody can go to hell for all he's concerned. And he activated the circular planet to self-destruct, but they cannot escape. Like, the gravitational field is not allowing for light speed jump, and they have to figure out a way. And this is where you present the idea of size matters not. I'm taking a little bit from the fanscription video that they made a few years ago, where they presented this idea of what would happen if Luke would have died in Return of the Jedi. So I'm gonna do those here as well, but in this case is Finn, who is trying to lift the energy of the planet with himself, trying to use all of his powers, because, as I said, size matters not. And maybe other people join with the Force, and this is helping Finn to levitate the entire energy out of the planet, maybe destroying some ships along the way, and maybe throw it into space, and then boom, city safe, planet safe, everybody's okay, everybody's celebrating, but Finn falls down, and then he technically dies. But then he sees a vision of all the original Jedis, like Luke, Anakin, Obi-Wan, all of them. They present this idea to Finn to join them, and you can show, and this is in my version, you can show that Luke is alongside Han and Leia. Like, the whole thing about how the Jedi only be the only beings that can be Force ghosts, why not make it into the entire being? Like, say, luminous beings they are, so Luke found a way as a Force ghost to reconstruct all those Jedi, all those people that he knew. Maybe reconstruct the life force of Han and Leia, maybe he sees Rose, maybe he sees his parents before he even became a stormtrooper, something like that. Then Finn realizes that no, I have to stay, and then he's brought back, and maybe in a moment Kylo tries to attack with his lightsaber, but then Finn cuts his other arm, something like that, and then the day is safe. The galaxy is celebrating. Finn is celebrating alongside Rey and Poe, and Kylo stays alive. Now, the reason I'm keeping him alive is because I want him to suffer the consequences of his actions. Like, death is easy, but I want to have a Finn tell him that you force people to live in your world, you're gonna now be forced to live in our world. Punish him by taking away his entire powers, or I don't know, put him under restriction and force him to see the galaxy who's no longer afraid of him. And this is where you end the film, and this is where you have the scene in The Last Jedi of the kid with Force powers looking at the sky after everything that went down. And you can end the movie there, and maybe in thousands of years, or maybe in a few decades, have other people taking the other stories into different directions. I don't know. That's what I would have done. That is what I would have done with all the Star Wars films, particularly with the sequels. But that's just what I would have done. But now that I presented this, and I know it's not gonna be made, but maybe someone is listening out there and maybe saying, hey, maybe a good idea for another movie. But now I have to present this part of the video that I think we need to talk about. With everything that has been said and done, obviously this is just a fan made up film that I made in my head. And it's not gonna happen, and we're living in a reality where this is happening. So now the question is, what's next? Now, the reason I'm saying what's next is because at the time of this recording, not only Kathleen Kennedy is no longer in charge of Lucasfilms, but we also see that Bob Iger has stepped down as Disney's CEO. Other people have taken their places, and we have to ponder what's going to happen next to Star Wars. And this is where we need to be completely honest. A lot of people at this very moment are not happy with Star Wars. There are people who got sick of all the wrong decisions made by that studio, by Disney, and by all those directors and writers. People are pondering now with Dave Filoni in charge, like what's going to happen next? How is it going to continue? Or if we can go back to the way it was. At the time of this recording, The Mandalorian and Grogu hasn't been released. It's going to be released on on May, and we have to wait and see, because according to Filoni, plans are made for this film to be the first stepping stone for a larger story that he has planned out. But it all depends on what happens on this film and how successful it is. Hopefully with the goodwill of this show, then maybe there are fans who are willing to go and see the movie. But there are others who are skeptical. People who believe that things are not going to be as good as the originals, that things are so broken, and it's all because of Disney, the meddling, and all that. There are people who are clamoring for one day for something to happen, that maybe Disney or that Star Wars gets out of Disney's hands, that maybe a billionaire who's a fan of Star Wars manages to bought out everything. That they want, what I'm trying to say is that people want Disney to throw away, that Star Wars is out of Disney's hands, that somehow somebody is trying, there should be somewhere that they can take away from Disney's hands all the Star Wars or Lucasfilms in general. But here's the thing, unless you're a millionaire or a billionaire who cares about Star Wars and decides to buy out Star Wars out of Disney's hands, and Disney is willing to do so, then I don't see how that's gonna happen. And that's the thing that I want you to remember. Right now, things are complicated. Things are just really, really difficult right now, especially with Star Wars, and it's gonna be hard for us to go back to the way it was. But that doesn't mean that we can move forward. I don't know what's the future of Star Wars. People say that it's already dead. I don't know what to think about that, but if you think that Star Wars is dead and the only way to bring it back is by taking away from Disney, then okay, that's fine, but I don't know, I don't see that future happening anytime soon. At least not in my lifetime. If it happens in my lifetime, then I'll go ahead and say egg on my face, right? But until then, we just have to wait and see what happens. The ball is now on Dave Filoni's court. We have to wait and see what happens next. But until then, trying to take this as just another fan video. Someone who does care about Star Wars, even if it's a little. But hey, what do you guys think of my crazy ideas of Star Wars? Let me know in the comment section below. And I also want to thank you all for listening and for staying with me all this month, trying to talk about a movie that many people really care about the most. But yeah, that's the conclusion for Star Wars Sequel Month. Next week is going to be not a review, but talking about something different. So until then, I've been Enrique, and I'll see you next time. And may the Force be with you always. Till then.